By this time, Christmas was not far away, and this is the time of greatest hustle and bustle for the townspeople. On the Saturday before Christmas, the street was black with people. They were like harvest midgets moving in and out through each other, collecting coins as they went from house to house, and a good number of the men with the hats on the side of their head as a result of having taken a job. I thought that there weren't so many people in the world as were gathered in the house at that hour of the day. Such argument and uproar and discussion. The taproom was a solid mass of people. In the middle of the floor stood a great long table with farms on either side of it. And the people were so crushed together that a tiny wren wouldn't have found room among them. One man was singing and another was talking. I wasn't listening to anyone but the Michael Thomasine singing Bonabuki, the fairy cow, a song made by Poet Donnelly. This was a song mocking the peelers. Every time he finished a verse, the rest of the company would raise this yell that had knocked echoes out of the loft over their heads. After a while, a man stuck down his head. I own to God, Michael, he said. Wouldn't a scrap of sense be better to than that nourishment? The brass buttons are outside. Let them go to hell, son, Michael said, and he raised his voice in another verse. Before long, Betty's wife came in. Miraculous God, she said, have any of you seen this Michael of mine? I'm here, girl, come on down, said Michael. She got her welcome and she took her seat at the end of the bench. We'll drink a drop now, said Michael, and then we'll head for home. Bad enough for one of us to be cracked without having the pair of us in the one trim. Michael stood up and filled a glass out of a jug that stood on the table. Bet was trying to refuse the drink. Here, girl, he said, raising another blast of a song, and he began his song all over again. The peelers were busy outside because at this time there was a great agitation among the people. The land question was still very much to the fore, and the unfortunate tenants were being sorely harried by the landlords. Like every place, a branch of the Land League had been established in Dingle, and many people were starting to take part in the planner campaign. And as a result of this, here and there was a person being boycotted. So the peelers had their hands full, especially in any locality where there were drinkers and shouters, where they had the suspicion that whatever secret or privacy topers held, they'd make let it slip out in the talk when they were wits were astray. But take my word for it, the people were very cautious, and they'd give the Brassies the least opportunity possible. However, Michael was in full cry when in the final verse of the song, two policemen hopped in the door, and grabbing poor Michael, they hoisted him off to the barracks. That was the first person I'd ever seen been arrested by the authorities. The house was then like a grave, not a hum nor a ha out of anyone, and those present began to drift off quietly. No one felt the situation as keenly as Bet, because now she had no one to guide the horse home. She was troubled in her mind and very upset. Pull yourself together, Seamus, the man of the house, told her. The night will be fine and bright, and if all goes well, they can't keep him inside behind 10 o'clock. Mirish Bond and myself will go to the barracks and get him released at 10. The poor woman calmed down then. About 10 o'clock, Seamus and Mirish went off and brought Michael back with them. He was your subdued man. When he came in the door to us with a class of a foolish smirk on his face, Bet said, "'Tis easy know that your throat would land you in trouble, my hero." "Shut up now," said Michael. "Can't I boast that I was taken to the barracks without any charge being laid against me except that I was singing? Get ready straight away and believe you me too, the black mare won't be long covering the road north." They said goodbye to us, and I dare say they weren't idle until they reached home. Christmas fell on a Tuesday, and everyone was busy preparing for it. Shawneen came in the door carrying a bundle of ivy and holly. "Give me a hand, Margaret," he said, "till I fasten this to the window." "I know nothing about it," I said, "because I've never seen it done." "You'll see it now, girl," he said, "and when it'll be fixed up, it'll be simply beautiful." Anna and Eileen were busy making paper flowers. According as they had a flower finished, Johnny would tug it in among the ivy. "Bring me the candle now," he told me. I got a great red candle and a candlestick. This he set on the windowsill. Make the tea you, he told me, while I'm fixing up the rest of it. I hung the kettle over the fire, and while I was waiting for it to boil, I fixed the table in the middle of the kitchen. Shawneen told me to get a blue candle to light it and place it on the table. When I had it lighting, I laid the table with the delf for the tea. Then Nell got up and bring with her 3 kinds of bread. She sliced it on a breadboard. There was plenty of jam and butter on the table too. And when all the lights were lighting and the kitchen was decorated, I thought that I was in the kingdom of heaven, because I'd never seen such a lovely sight. Nell poured out the tea and everyone sat down to the table. They were all pleasant and cheerful, especially Nell, for she had everybody around her, and it filled her with joy. I was watching very closely as I drank my tea. Thoughts ran into my mind. I was thinking of my poor mother at the time. I knew the kind of night she had, a nearsighted, lonely, unfortunate woman, without light or joy, for I was the one comfort she had in her life. I was far away from her now, and I couldn't raise her spirits nor offer her a scrap of happiness. The way of the world is strange, I told myself. Look at Nell and the comfort she draws from her family. And there are other poor mothers who never get the slightest scrap of satisfaction out of life. In spite of all the pleasure around me, tears came to my eyes. Shawneen noticed me. Margaret is lonesome, he said. He came over to me from the other side of the table and gave me soft talk so as to take my mind off the loneliness. Shawneen, I told him, I'm not a bit lonely in the way you imagine, but I was thinking of my poor mother. Go back and drink your tea. Then I began eating just like he was. When we had the supper eaten and all the things were set aside, Seamus came in with a bottle of wine and a glass in his hand. Would you like punch? He asked us. We would, Daddy, the children said. This is Christmas Eve. I don't care for wine at all, darling, Nan said. I prefer a little drop of whiskey. Back he went and then returned with a jug full of whiskey. Here, take your pick of them, he said. Nell made a small drop of wine negus that was suitable for the family, and she gave me a fair germ of it too. Won't you have a drop yourself, Mrs.? I asked her. I won't, child, she said. I never let a spoonful of drink pass my lips, nor will I give it to these children but as little for the respect of the night that's in it. Would you be afraid you'd get drunk? I asked her, for curiosity was picking me. Not that, child, but it has always been said, taste the food and you'll get fond of it. I don't think there was ever a person who was sipping and tipping a drink but didn't get a mind for it in the latter end. Seamusine and Eileen were over at the windowsill, examining the small, lovely pictures that Shawneen had placed here and there. Eileen took one of them in her hand and went over to where Nan was. Nan, she said, look at the nice little lamb with his feet tied. Aye, said Nan, that's the blessed infant whom we all adore tonight. How I love that tiny lamb, Eileen said. And that love remained in the girl's heart forever afterwards, and she offered herself up to the merciful lamb and became a nun. Bedtime now in God's name, Nell said. We'll be getting up early in the morning for Mass. And then we went to bed.
I'm sure that has brought back memories to some people of their childhood long gone by. You may not have recognized it because you probably learned it through Irish. In fact, it was an extract from Peig Sayers' autobiography. The piece was titled My First Christmas Far Away from Home, and it was read tonight by Sharon Kelleher.
Happily ever after, he unbends his knee, plucks the glass slipper from her perfect foot, thinks, surely this should be fur. Next, he uncurls his lip at the bloodied stumps of some sister's toes, mounts a vast black stallion and rides away, as an invitation is unprinted, a ball unplanned. Exquisite footwear was never left upon a stair, and she goes back to midnight to unchime the clock. Dance in reverse with a man who will one day unsearch for her, while 6 footmen return to mice, a golden coach to pumpkin, as an orchestra untunes, her dress re-rags. An impossible fairy godmother dissolves to dust, and there will be a prince somewhere who unbelieves in love again as she sweeps once upon a time back in through the door.
Yes, Claire Flanagan was Cinderella tonight, but she was going backwards. That little piece was written by Claire Dyer.
Lost and uncertain, you are waiting for a new beginning. Inside we feel the heat, drinking hot liquids, buried in our memories. Will we get the new year we need? Trying to be alive, but something inside keeps stopping me. Hope is nourishing to the soul, or playing patience with yourself.
Yes, although it was written a few years ago, that little piece, it was very appropriate, and is very appropriate for the year we're just leaving behind us. Will we get the new year we need? It is a little poem, Deep December, written by June Judd, and was read tonight by Francis Keogh.